Oh, hello. Welcome to today's video, which is going to be a big review of Warhammer Fest as an entity. I'm not really going to be talking about the Kill Team tournament here. That's going to be its own separate video. This is going to be a general overview of my thoughts and feelings about the Warhammer Fest experience as a whole. So first we want to talk about prices. So Warhammer Fest, it was £20 to go in for one of the 3 days, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, or you could pay £40 for a 3-day pass, and you would effectively get, a day free, which is pretty good. When it came to entering the venue, there were different lines for different grades of tickets. So people with a 1-day pass had to wait in one line. People with a 3-day pass got another line. People in a tournament got to go in a third line, and then they got the golden ticket holders, which are the people that have paid £1,000 plus, got to go in another line, and there was only about 12 of them. So your 3-day pass did get you slightly expedited queuing to get in the morning as well. And then I paid £30 to enter the Kill Team tournament entry. Now, it's worth saying you could do this in any combination. You had to pay at least £70 to play Kill Team, but that included your 3-day pass. So your £40 3-day pass plus your £30 Kill Team tournament entry, or you could pay £140 plus 30 for £170 total if you wanted the premium swag box as well as the Kill Team tournament entry. Okay? So, and you could do that in any combination. I opted to spend £170 for the premium entry with a Kill Team tournament. So for your £100, this is what you got. Now, this isn't my photograph. This is one I found on Twitter because I've thrown all my leaflets away in semi-disgust. I just wanted to kind of go over what you got, and some of it's good and some of it's bad. So for £100 in a box, and it's a bespoke cardboard box, right, with designs and stuff on the outside, you got a t-shirt. Now, I think the t-shirt's actually really good. It's not a particularly imaginative t-shirt in terms of the fact that it's monotone. I was impressed because I'm a fat man, and usually I buy 6XL clothes, and that usually precludes most like t-shirts and stuff, which max out at 4XL. Actually, this t-shirt I was wearing it the other day on the hobby stream. It's a little snug, but it fits really well, and it's really, really soft. It feels like a really high-quality t-shirt. You got a water bottle, branded water bottle. Now, this is a bit weird. It's nothing special, but I will say the water bottle was vital because within the venue, Manchester Central, yeah, you can buy beer and you can buy Coke and stuff, but it's very, very expensive. But there were free water fountain, filtered, chilled water machines with no paper cups. Got to save the trees. So if you hadn't been wise to bring a refillable water bottle to Warhammer Fest, actually, the fact that you were given a refillable water bottle, really, really good idea. Really, really good idea. You got both exclusive minis, so the Commissar and the Barbarian. Now, I was a bit spoiled here. For many people, this was their first chance to get those minis. Because I went to the Warhammer World New Year's Open Day, I've previously had a chance to buy these miniatures. So I already had a copy of the Commissar, but now I gained a copy of the Commissar and the Barbarian, which is fine. You got a Warhammer Fest coin. It's a bit bigger than the retail exclusive coins, the £60 coin of the month coin, so it doesn't go in that coin holder. It's bigger than that. I quite like this sort of stuff. I'm a sucker for it. This is why I went for the premium pack, because I like these limited edition bits and pieces. So yeah, you get a coin. It's not particularly useful. I think, though, it might be... I've just had a thought while I'm thinking about this live. This is the coin here, right? Now, if I'm correct... is this coin? Here's an objective marker. Yeah, it might be a fractionally too big, but it is more or less the exact right size to be used as a metal objective marker. So if you had 6 of them, you could use them as cool objective markers. That's pretty neat. Okay, so that's something. You also got a pin badge. Pin badge. I kind of showed a pin badge to the camera here as well. It's this silvery one. It's a Space Marine head that says Warhammer Fest 2023, and it's made by Koyo, who make all the licensed pin badges. Really nice pin badge, actually, if you're a fan of pin badges. And then it goes downhill. So we were promised dice, and I was hoping you'd get some nice metal dice like they do for the anniversaries and things. No, you got a random packet of unsold dice, basically, from one of their various releases. This one in the picture got the Kill Team Orc dice. When I opened mine, I actually got the Age of Sigmar Order dice. I swapped those with Mrs. T.I., who got the Kazakin Kill Team dice. I actually already have an unopened pack of Kazakin Kill Team dice, but I kind of felt that because I was taking Kazakin to the Kill Team tournament, and I hadn't brought the Kazakin dice, but now I was being offered some, I felt they'd be lucky. I'm superstitious like that, so I opened and used the Kazakin Kill Team dice, and my friend Simon got Grand Alliance Death dice, which I thought were pretty cool. I don't think he was particularly enamoured of them, but I thought they were pretty cool. But it is all just unsold stock. So it's like one of those things where you look at it, it's like, yeah, the dice have a £20 value, but nobody was buying them at that price. So did they really have a £20 value? And then we get into the nadir of it a little bit. So on Eventbrite, it listed out all these things. Then it said much, much more. The much, much more, we got a mouse mat, a Soulforge mouse mat. So Soulforge is a licensed digital card game. The mouse mats were all bent because the box was too small for the mouse mats. I have managed to straighten mine, and I actually will kind of vaguely use that mouse mat because I have a bag with a laptop in where have been meaning to buy or pick up a cheap mouse mat, stick in that bag so that when I travel somewhere and the surface requires a mouse mat, I have one. So that's okay. And then a pile of leaflets. Like there's a free character for Tacticus and a free 15% off Rogue Trader, except that Warhammer Plus subscribers are in theory getting 50% off Rogue Trader shortly, so that wasn't that exciting. And these leaflets were all over the event hall anyway. And then what's interesting is on the Eventbrite page, it also said we would get in our premium swag bag a Warhammer digital codex of your choice to be delivered after the event. Now that's really interesting to me. So if we're getting a 9th edition digital codex of our choice to be delivered after the event, that really does increase the value. There's clearly something happening here with 40k and digital codexes, because I know that the people who got the premium swag bag, the Golden Throne, I should say, part of what they were promised was the next 12 months of 40k codexes in digital for free. So I think Games Workshop is going to announce shortly a platform for digital codex releases, and that'll be interesting and one to keep an eye on. And it'll be interesting to see if the premium swag bag holders from Warhammer Fest, if we actually get our digital codexes. Is it worth £100? I mean, the miniatures are 20 odd, right? What would you pay for a t-shirt? £15? £65. The dice are in theory worth 20, like that's 85. The coins they sold later in the shop for like a tenner, so 90. So it is kind of worth the £200 if you wanted the stuff. I would say probably it's a bit disappointing. If the codex materializes, that tips it over the edge from being a feels bad to being a feels good, in my opinion. Like, if that codex materializes and I can get like a digital copy of Codex Space Marines or something for free, yeah, that tips it over from being a kind of a feels bad to a feels good, in my view. Would I recommend the premium option again? This is it. That for me, you've got the coin and the pin badge that are truly limited edition items that you're not going to see anywhere else. Like, I want them because I'm just that kind of guy. For me, they have more value, like, than the Golden Throne bag, which had like £1,000 of stuff in, but it was all just stuff that you could have bought. Having a few genuinely exclusive things in the swag bag, for me, it has a bit of value because I love to collect bits of tat like that. But you're your own person, you make your own view. What I thought was really interesting was separately, your tournament ticket got you a swag bag. Now, obviously, the tournament ticket's swag bag is less impressive, but think about this. You've paid a £30 premium for your tournament, right? Your tournament gets you a 6-round tournament entry over 2 days. You get a nice drawstring bag. I mean, I don't know what I'd use it for because I'm not a small child going to PE lessons, but it's a nice thing to have. 6 exclusive poker chip objective markers, which you can see in the picture. They're these. They say Warhammer Fest on one side, and then 2 of them have Imperial Eagles, 2 of them have Chaos Stars, and 2 of them have Genestealer symbols. And they're really nicely, they're nice and heavy, and they're really nicely textured. They've got like a brushed texture to them. They are the wrong size. You know, anyone that plays Kill Team will tell you that we don't want markers like this. We want markers that are the full, the 3-inch circle markers, to make the game play well. But these are nice things, and I'm sure I will find a use for them. You know, they're that standard objective marker size that's technically correct but slightly useless these days. You got a second exclusive pin badge, which was, I think, quite interesting. So in the premium set, you got a silver Space Marine helmet pin badge. In the tournament set, you got a gold one with a skull on to denote that he's a veteran sergeant. So it's a variant on the same thing, implying that tournament players are a cut above premium entry players, which makes sense with the queues as well. The tournament players got access to a better queue. So, yeah, I find it a bit difficult to justify that one was £100 and one was 30 and got you into a tournament. In fact, I think the perks for being in a tournament, when you consider the expedited priority queue, the swag bag, we did meet someone in the tournament queue who had bought, I think it was Youngblood tournament tickets that he had no intention of playing in, just so he could get in the early queue and get a bag of swag, and that was it, right? So a bit of a weird one there, Games Workshop. We got a really nicely printed pack of cards with the 6 missions on. The ones for day 2 were incorrect. I've made a video ranting about that. I'm going to mention it again in the tournament review. But the idea was there. If there hadn't been this last minute swerve away from doing Into the Dark on day 2, it would have been a perfect tournament. Okay? You got a lanyard. Most people got a little credit card size thing to put in the bottom of their lanyard and write their name on. That was missing from both mine and Mrs. T.I.'s pack. So I just wore my lanyard all day with my pin badge collection pierced through the plastic thing at the bottom. But the lanyard itself is really nice, Warhammer Fest branded, with the Terminators and the Genestealers on. I wish my job still let me wear random lanyards to work. But no, unfortunately, we've been told to have to wear the official lanyard, which is a bit sad. A £10 voucher for the store. So you pay £30 for all this, you get £10 back in store credit and a priority queue in the morning. Like, the moral of this video is to enter a tournament. I really feel quite strongly. So I'm sure you've seen online by now a lot of people complaining that there wasn't that much to do at Warhammer Fest for the people who were not playing in a tournament. And I would agree. So what was there to do for the price of the standard entry? So I've broken this down into 3 sections. The first section is things that the community provides, right? So the community provides, there was a cosplay showcase, so there's all the cosplayers. There's a big cosplay community really grown up around 40k stuff with about 5 or 6 people with motorized, like, Space Marine costumes and loads of other costumes going on. And they brought all their stuff. There was a cosplay parade at one point. And then there were cosplay awards, and there was a whole area where they just stood and had all their cosplay kit, and you could take photos with the cosplayers and try on the cosplay stuff. So there was a big section for cosplay. Likewise, there was a big game put on by what's called the Titan Owners Club, which is people that own a couple of the full 40k size Forge World Titans, and they were playing Adeptus Titanicus, but with 40k scale Titans throughout the day, and that was really interesting and beautiful to behold. And then, of course, you got Golden Demon, which is, I mean, I guess Warhammer supplies the judges, but it really is a community thing where you get to go and look at the Golden Demon entries as well, right? And then we'll look at the things that were provided by the license holders. So there was combat cards, digital card games, stand and demos. There was the Cubicle 7 pen and paper RPG stand. There was the Warhammer Tacticus mobile game stand. The Warpforge digital card game stand. The Battle Sector turn-based strategy game demo area. The Koyo licensed pin badge stand. And Focus Entertainment of Space Marine 2 excitement had bolt gun demos to show, and the statue from the collector's edition of Space Marine 2. And then tucked away in the shop, there was the statue from the premium edition of the Rogue Trader CCRPG, which I've included a photo of here on the right-hand side of your screen. Now, this was disappointing to me because, I'm not going to cast shade on you. If you like mobile card games, all more power to you. But I don't care about combat cards, right? I don't care about Warhammer Tacticus. I don't care about Warpforge. Like, I genuinely couldn't care about those three things any less, right? I don't really care about Battle Sector because it's been out for ages and it's turn-based. Turn-based strategy games aren't really my thing. I really care about Space Marine 2, but Focus Entertainment were already only demoing Bolt Gun, and there was big long queues for Bolt Gun, and I have like a passing interest in Bolt Gun, but the nostalgia thing doesn't really do it for me. So the two upcoming 40k related games I'm interested in are the Rogue Trader CCRPG, but Alcat Games didn't have a stand, they weren't there, and Space Marine 2, but they only had a statue to look at. And I briefly talked to the developer of Space Marine 2 to clarify they hadn't announced a release date, and that was basically it. So, yeah. The license holders thing was a bit of a miss. The Koyo stand was good. Is that Koyo? But I've got a slide on some of the highlights later on. And then the things that Games Workshop actually provided, well, they provided a shop, of course. The shop was really interesting. It had some interesting exclusive items. You could get a cap. You could get objective markers. So the objective markers are quite good. They're for new 40k. They're like really big neoprene objective markers. And they had loads of different ones for different factions. So I got some Sisters of Battle objective markers. And Mrs. T, I got some Word Bearer objective markers. And we will use those with 9th edition. They were really good. I assume they're going to come to more general release later on. There were also some Warhammer Fest branded objective markers, right? You could get a Warhammer Fest cap. You could get a Warhammer Fest mug. I did buy a Warhammer Fest mug. I'm the guy who goes to places and buys mugs. Like, if you wonder why things always have mugs, I'm the guy that buys mugs. I love a good mug. I've got too many mugs. Mrs. T.I. just says to me, why have we got so many mugs in our house? I'm that guy. They also sold all this. They had loads of stuff from Forge World, including some out of production stuff. They had random things in their shop. They had like the Warhammer Plus miniatures from a while ago. So they had the Assassin and they had some of the Chaos Terminator just on the shelves. There were some random things. There was also loads of really standard stuff. And weirdly, you saw people buying armloads of the really standard stuff and you're thinking, Element Games is down the road. Like, I guess it's people who are coming from abroad, for whom paying a UK Games Workshop price is a massive discount as it is. But, yeah. The other weird thing with the shop is nothing had a price on it, right? You just got to the point of sale and it was like a weird reverse lottery. Like, oh, how much money have I spent? Oh, how interesting. So that was fun. There was a 40k 10th edition demo turn. Now, I'll talk more about that when I've got a slide on this. I'll talk more about that. I'm sure you've heard about it on the internet already. It's slightly infamous. They had some models from Leviathan painted in alternate schemes. So in a cabinet, they had some of the Terminators painted as different chapters and some of the Tyranids painted as different hive fleets. They had a Squigapult, which is like a Bizarro World carnival game where you had to like launch a rubber squig in a giant elastic band catapult thing and try and hit 3 targets. And if you queued up and then you hit the 3 targets, you won a pack of dice at random. Like, they've really overproduced on dice, okay? There was the scavenger hunt. I'll talk more about that in a minute. There was a paint and take. Literally, you know, the standard Intercessor or the standard Stormcast guy that you can get in any Games Workshop store if you go in and say, I'm new, can I paint a model? It was that. You could paint that. And then after you painted it, you could go and leave it on a community diorama to make like a diorama. But there was always a massive queue for the paint and take. Like a truly massive one. I don't understand. And then there was a massive Terminator statue and really cool decorative bit. Like something I really liked was all the really cool little props and decorative bits that they put through the hall. And there was actually a really good entryway that was all like done up and even had dry ice and stuff going on that you walked through once and then weren't allowed to go in again unless you went round and queued up again because the event staff wouldn't let you. But what can you do? And then, of course, there were the reveal seminars. We'll talk more about those later. So I'm going to start with, I'm going to go through the highlights, basically. There was the Koyo stand. The Koyo stand was a weird highlight. I'm down. I have a low opinion of the fact that they were mostly relying on licensees to fill out their kind of offering for Warhammer Fest. But the Koyo stand was really cool. So they had a spin the wheel where you could win some decent prizes just for free. Neither Helen nor I did. We got a 10% off code for the Koyo store. But there were people winning pin badges and plushies all day long. They had a thing about guessing the number of tiny Griffhound plushies in a box to win a massive Griffhound plush, which Helen said we weren't allowed to enter because we couldn't fit the massive Griffhound in our house. And then they had a paint your own spin pin badge area, and literally you got given for free or including your ticket price, but you got given a Space Marine pin badge and you could paint it. And then they took a picture of it with your mobile phone number for some kind of nebulous competition. They'll call you if you win. But I thought I painted mine as a Black Templar. You see him on the screen there, and he's made of metal and he's mine to take away and keep. That's pretty cool. I like that. Well done, Koyo. You had the best stand out of all the licenses, right? There was a cool scavenger hunt. So you could run around each day with your phone scanning the QR codes that were on all the different cool props that they brought. Like, they'd move them around every day and it would give you a clue. So, like, one day it was actually on the giant Terminator statue, which you can see in the photograph there. That's me and Mrs. T.I. on the left. And every day you did that, you got a third of this badge that you put in a holder. You did have to buy the empty badge holder from the store for £7.50, but the little inlay bits were free. You've got one with a sister on, one with a guards woman on, and one with a Terminator on. So that was pretty cool. I enjoyed that. I did get, sore feet and legs from all that running around and all that exercise, but it was good fun. The 10th edition demo. So these opened at about 10 AM on Saturday, like after the 40k reveal seminar, and it quickly gained a massive, many hours long queue. There were only 4 tables. I think there were 4 tables because they had them all like basically being games mastered by one of the presenters on Warhammer TV. So like Nick Baton was there. Our game that we did was run by, I forget his name, the guy that's obsessed with Space Wolves, basically. And those Warhammer TV faces were working really, really hard and making every game sound really, really exciting. And it was really enjoyable to get hands-on with the new miniatures, and you could only play one turn. But we made use of the fact that on the Sunday we were there at 8 AM when the doors opened. We got in before most people because we were in the tournament queue, but the tournament didn't actually start till 10. So we basically went straight for the 10th edition demos, and then we weren't in the first batch, so we waited about an hour. We got into the second batch and our 10th edition demo, and it was really, really good fun. I think 10th edition, don't expect me to spill loads of beans about what the game's like. I think 10th edition feels like it's going to be a really fun, really easy game to play. I really enjoyed it. It's kind of borrows a lot from Age of Sigmar, but obviously with more shooting, right? I really like what they've done with the objective markers now, in that the central objective marker, which is something of this like standard poker chip size, right, is something now that you can't stand on. So you could build something up, you could model something and have that as your objective, and then that sits on top of the neoprene ring, which then shows the area of ability to control the objective. That's really, really cool. And it was just fun to be able to pick up and handle, the new Tyranids and the new Space Marines from the new box as well, which I thought was good. So it was really good. They needed about 5 times the number of tables. And I know probably they were limited because they wanted their best PR people, like, running each table, but they had a lot of space, and they just generated a lot of queue to fill a lot of the space. Reveal seminars. So I'm really conflicted about how I feel about the reveal seminars. You were at the total mercy of the queue. So we were playing in the tournament on the Saturday and the Sunday, so we couldn't go to a lot of the reveals. We could have tried to go to the 40k reveal, like in theory, it would have lined up and we would have gotten to our tournament for the start, but we were a bit unsure of ourselves and what was going on. A friend of mine, Simon, who didn't have any tournament entry to do and was just kind of going around on his 3-day ticket, wanted to go to the 30k or Old World seminar. He went 90 minutes in advance, and that 90-minute mark, there was already a massive queue that was queuing, like out of one place, out of another place, and out of another place. So he didn't feel there was much mileage in joining that. And I went to the Kill Team one, and it was about 2 hours of standing in the queue to get into the Kill Team seminar, and the entire seminar was live streamed on Twitch. So there's a strong argument for bringing your good headphones, you know, and your phone, and just wherever you are in the thing, whatever you're doing, just stick your earphones in and watch the reveals when they come up, and then take them out again. Because the actual Kill Team reveal segment was about 18 minutes long, right? So you queued for 2 hours for that 18-minute long segment. But then what there was the Q&A afterwards. And the Q&A was not broadcast on Twitch, okay? And you could glean some interesting extra bits from the Q&A. And if you've watched my sort of reflection on the Kill Team rumours, you can kind of see what I gained from the Q&A over and above what's on Twitch or Warcom. I don't know. I used to really love seminars. I used to basically go to the old Forge World weekenders, the Horus Heresy weekenders they do, and you basically camp out in the seminar room. But the big difference there was when they used to do those Forge World weekenders, you know, it was Tony Cottrell would go through the spiel, but then for the Q&A, there'd be like the actual development team. You know, you'd have Alan Bly, God rest his soul, sat up there on the sofa with the other Forge World bods, and they would answer your questions, and they would go off on little rambling rambles, and you really felt like you were really learning something. The Q&A for these, it was just the crowd grilling, you know, Eddie, the marketing guy, and he does a good job. This isn't disparaging of Eddie, but it's not the same as asking someone that genuinely knows things because they're a developer, right? So, is it worth going for the main thing to be the seminars? Like, I don't know. Me being me and having this channel about Kill Team, I probably would go. I don't regret going to the Kill Team seminar specifically for the Q&A, but if you're not in a tournament or other paid-for events, you really do need to be going to the seminars and enjoying them in order to have enough to do to fill your time, right? I would think. So what are my overall impressions of the general offer? So the things that were included in the basic, you know, the £20 a day pass or the £40 3-day pass. Everything had a queue. Funnily enough, except the shop. You would go into the shop, load up your arms with stuff, and then round a corner you'd join the queue for the tills, and you'd be like, oh. I'm told that a lot of people stole things on the first day because it was really... They thought they'd been very clever and made it really easy to get into the shop, right? So that people would go in and browse and then pick up stuff and then have mentally bought it in their mind and then sit in a queue to buy it. But, yeah, apparently a lot of stuff got stolen on the first day. I genuinely don't think that there was enough to do for a 3-day ticket holder that wasn't playing in a tournament. And I talked to a number of people in exactly that situation who all basically said to me, yeah, I don't think there was enough for us to do. Obviously, if you are, you know, if you're someone who's known in the community, then you could enjoy going and socialising and, you know, you're at Warhammer Fest and one of the main things you do, like at one point I sat down for about 40 minutes to an hour and I was just talking to Andy and Wes, you know, about stuff and Kill Team and things. That's not something that Games Workshop have provided, but in a way it is because I wouldn't interact with those people outside of a Games Workshop event, you know, so there's that element to it. But if you're somebody that's not enmeshed in the scene or is a bit shy or a bit withdrawn, I don't think there's enough to do. Unless you were in a tournament or another paid-for event. There were some hobby things as well. I do think the tournament was great value for money. Like, if you're at all nervous, and I was even before the event, and going, well, will I miss stuff out because I'm in a tournament? I actually felt like I saw everything that I wanted to see and played in the tournament and played in the Hobby Challenge on the last day. No problem. So, do the tournament, do the tournament, do the tournament. That's really the takeaway. If you do the tournament, you'll have a great time. The food was expensive. It was basically a choice of pizza, hot dog, or nachos, and they were about 10 quid. I think some were like 9 and some were like 12, but they were expensive. But drinks were expensive as well, but you could get free water. You were not supposed to bring any outside food, but I brought in like a Tracker bar equivalents and some like beef jerky and some mixed nuts on different days, and nobody really noticed or cared. So, because I didn't want to pay for 2 meals at convention prices. Right. Conspicuously absent was a studio area where you could actually talk to the rules writers and sculptors. So at previous Warhammer Fests and previous Games Days and previous Horus Heresy Weekenders, you've been able to go and speak to the actual rules writers and the actual sculptors, and they've been sitting near the thing that they've worked on recently, and it was always a little bit of a false thing because you were asking about something that they probably finished working on 8 months ago, right? But it was nice still to be able to talk about those things. It used to be better at the old Horus Heresy Weekenders because Forge World worked with less lead time and people would actually show stuff they were currently working on and things like that, and just sadly, those days are behind us now, seemingly. Games Workshop is one of the ways in which they're becoming more professional is everything now comes through the filter of the community team, so there's no speaking to the creatives. The only person there from a creative team, ironically enough, was Elliot, the lead dev of Kill Team, because he was there running the Kill Team tournament. Because Elliot's just, I don't know whether he seems to be the only person, as far as I'm aware, the other lead devs to the other games weren't there. Now, obviously he was busy running a tournament, so you couldn't just walk up to him and try and pick his brains about stuff, but I bet other people did. But there wasn't an area where all the people were lined up for people to go around and ask them stuff, which really is really sad. It's really sad. And I've talked about that in relation to the reveal seminars as well. And it just kind of sucks. And it makes me long for the past when you could go around and just talk to people about things. Right. And now we're going to talk about some of the extra paid add-ons that I did. There were more paid add-ons than just this, but I can only review the ones that I chose to do. So there was a pub quiz. The pub quiz was on the Saturday night after everything else was closed. And it went on 10 o'clock. It was £15 an entry. We did really well. We got middling. We got 35 points. I think you needed 65 points to get a prize in the end. But we managed to get together a team of 5 that Simon actually knew everybody on the team. It was me and Mrs. T.I. and Simon and 2 of Simon's mates from work, but we did a reasonably good job. Came middle of the pack, found the whole thing pretty enjoyable. It was a really good use of an evening. I would certainly recommend the Mega Pub Quiz in future. I think people could do with saying, this is how many people are on a team and encourage people to get their teams together beforehand. But yeah, quite pleased with that. And then on Monday, we paid to do the Hobby Challenge. So this is a bit mixed. For £45, you got one of the 2 limited edition models. So that's the Commissar or the Barbarian. And you got a pile of sprue. There's a buffet of sprue to convert them. The sprue selection was a little bit lackluster. There was an awful lot from one of the Underworld sets that they hadn't sold many of, right? And there was a lot of pipes and a lot of other bits of terrain. And a few good bits you could find here and there. We got in at 8 o'clock, 8 in the morning, and I started making my... I opted for the Barbarian guy because I quite like these hobby challenges, the idea of taking an Age of Sigmar guy and then like technoing him up in a kind of John Blanche style. So I got a Barbarian guy. I actually got the Power Sword from Simon's Commissar. He took the Commissar, but he wasn't using the Power Sword that stuck in the floor. So he gave me his Power Sword. So I had the Power Sword in one hand, and I'd rebuilt the tip of the Power Sword using part of the axe. I'd made like a heavy bolt pistol by getting a bolt rifle and cutting down the middle, and that was in his other hand. And I spent a lot of time getting a cloak on there from like an Age of Sigmar thing, and he had some like mechadendrite type pipes coming out of his back, and he had a bionic eye that I'd shaved off a Space Marine that was on his head. And I'm not going to pretend it looked amazing, but I thought it looked really cool. And then what they had was basically a thing where you could hand your model in, and somebody would go and spray it black or white or whatever you asked for. And yeah, so I did that, and then the guy's like, "Oh, it'll be about 20 minutes, half an hour." And I said, "Well, it's about time for the Kill Team Reveals seminar. Can I walk out and go and do that and then come back?" And he's like, "Yeah, no problem." So I went back, came back 3 hours later, and my model's just nowhere to be found. So someone had obviously just picked it up and walked off with it, right? Nowhere to be found. They looked everywhere. They just were putting them out on a table, and they were like, "Oh, sorry, someone must have taken it." So that wasn't great. Now, in fairness to Games Workshop, they tried their best to make it right. They gave me £45 of store credit to the event store, which is what I'd paid for to come to the event, and they gave me another Barbarian model so I could start again. Unfortunately, by this time, all the really good sprues had gone, so I just kind of took the Barbarian and put it in my bag, went to the store and sat round, and really, for me, Monday was a bit... Apart from the Kill Team seminar, Monday was a bit lackluster because, although Monday was the day we finally got into the Koyo stand to paint the badges, to be fair, because that always had a big queue, but Monday was just a bit meh. But the reason I stuck around is because Mrs. T.I. was really into the hobby challenge bit, and actually she won. She came joint third, so there was a joint first place. 2 people won, and then 2 people were runners up. So this was her entry. She had the Commissar guy there, and then she found a sprue of Tau Pathfinders along with all the terrain they had, and this is just a piece of cardboard on the bottom, and she made this, and she came joint third on Monday's Scrap Demon, so she got 10 paints and a hobby tool. So that was good. I think the hobby challenge was really good. I think the only thing that would improve it, and I don't know if anyone from Games Workshop watches my channel, it'd be great if they did, or hopefully there's some feedback forms coming out, but like raffle tickets or cloakroom tickets, whatever you want to call them, so that when somebody hands a miniature in to get it sprayed, you don't give it back to somebody unless they've got the corresponding numbered ticket, right? That would be a cheap and easy way to solve that problem, because I'd heard as well from somebody else in there that the same thing had happened to somebody the other day at the hobby challenge on the Sunday, like somebody's miniature had been picked up by somebody else. So between that happening to me and the well-publicised on my channel thing about my wife's Kill Team going missing, I'm a little bit anxious about the wider Warhammer community, shall we say. It is what it is. Final thoughts. Were you at Fest? I'd love to hear your opinion. Overall, I enjoyed it with the tournament entry that I had, the premium swag box, the pub quiz, and then, well, apart from not Games Workshop's fault, not the event's fault really, but apart from someone stealing my miniature, but the hobby challenge seemed like it would have been fun otherwise. But I do feel like if you bought a 3-day pass and nothing else, you'd done everything by about 4 or 5 hours in. I mean, if you wanted to go to all the seminars and you were going to queue, fine, but you'd probably spend more time queuing than doing anything else. And then my only other point is it would be really nice to see some of the studio bods, right? Like, I really miss that. I miss the chance to interact with the people from the studio, ask themselves about what they're doing and what they've done and why they did it this way. That would have been good. All right. Thanks, everybody. If you enjoyed the video, please do give it a like. Please subscribe if you haven't already. And if you want to help me out directly, you can become a YouTube member. And if you click the members button, there's a video that plays that will tell you about all the perks you get for being a channel member. And if you don't like them, you can still back out at that point. I'd encourage you to go and watch that video. Alright guys, thank you for that. Have a great evening. I've done a parents' evening and a YouTube video, so my throat is about to give over. So with 40 minutes of video in the can, I will wish you a good evening. Cheery bye.